I'll give you a few ways to look into that. First, you can look into it through the manuscript evidence. We've seen portions of certain manuscripts that have been published, for example, portions of the Yemeni manuscripts, the Sana'a manuscripts, and we find differences between that and the modern Quran. That's not my main point. You see palimpsests, such as Fogg's palimpsest, which contains within it writings from what seems like Ibn Mas'ud's Quran. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But that's been washed out and a different text has been written over it. That's not my main point either. My main point is that you look at the earliest Islamic records and you see Muslims, not just random Muslims, but the Muslims who had been entrusted with the protection of the Quran, arguing with each other.
So the Caliph Uthman standardized the copies of the Quran, and therefore from his time up until our time there has never been two copies of the Quran that are different even in one letter or one word, and this is because of the far-sightedness of the Caliph Uthman. The Quran is the most protected of all scriptures, and in fact we as Muslims believe that God in His divine wisdom and plan has protected the Quran from any type of alteration, from any type of deviation, from any type of miswriting.
A few moments later.
And when we say the various different ways to recite the Quran, we are not talking about different voices or different styles. We're talking about slight differences in pronunciations, slight differences in letters, slight differences in harakat. In other words, if you were to compare two printed Qurans, you're going to see differences between them. Not just a voice or not just a speaking style, but also changes in letters and words and harakat.
Do most Muslims know what you just said?
Some do, and some will say that Uthman accurately gathered that which Allah wanted him to gather. Everything that was burned was variant, but that requires faith. That's not an evidence-based position.
And there were all kinds of contradictions between those different
There were, and this was the stuff that really began to get me, because as a Muslim I did not know what I'm about to tell you, which is crazy. Muhammad handpicked 4 teachers of the Quran, again according to Sahih Bukhari. Read book 61 of Sahih Bukhari if you want to know how the Quran was compiled. Of these 4 teachers that he handpicked, 2 of them, one's named Abdullah ibn Mas'ud and the other one's named Ubay ibn Ka'b. These 2 teachers, 2 of the 4 greatest teachers of the Quran, disagreed with today's Quran. Well, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud said there should only be 111 chapters. Ubay ibn Ka'b says there should be 116 chapters. Today's Quran has 114 chapters.